Your story is waiting for you today. Your story has something new to say. But your story will only come out to play when you're alone. Alone. Alone in a room with invisible people.
The following episode may contain swearing. Alone in a Room with Invisible People is brought to you by hollyswritingclasses.com. Hi, I'm Rebecca Galardo, the host of Alone in a Room with Invisible People. I'm here with author and teacher Holly Lisle, and today's topic is flash fiction. Why write flash fiction? Before we get into today's topic, as always, we're going to talk to you just for a couple of minutes about what we've been doing in our work. So, Holly, go ahead.
This week has been an adventure, and it's been two different kinds of adventure. I finished How to Write Short Stories, which is an 8-week writing class, and I had promised my guys that as soon as I finished that, I would start on How to Write a Novel, which is a class that somehow I managed to overlook. Just completely forgot that I hadn't done that class. So I took all of their questions, and I said, I think this is going to be about an 8-week class. And I took all of the questions, went through them, and I came up with 38 weeks of content. And I managed to squeeze that down to 35 weeks of content, and I'm getting started on that now. In fact, I've already started on lesson 1. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be an awesome class. People asked just amazing questions, and I'm going to be focusing on those. But the other half of my adventure was with, not Viper's Nest, The Owner's Tale. Yes, episode 6, the last episode.
And last week you got all of 115 words done,
last week I got
70?
a total of 76 words through the whole week. By the time I had written, deleted. Yeah, but last week it was a mechanical problem in that I had forgotten my world building from Hunting the Corrigan's Blood and broke a bunch of things that had to be fixed. This week it was just freaking character issues where my characters were not being the people I needed to be, and I managed to come out with a net gain this week of about 1,500 words, which was significantly better than last week, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. But I got words, and I like them. They're good words, and I'm headed in the right direction. So that's me. On to you.
Yes, 1,500 is a lot better than 76. That's for damn sure.
Oh, yeah.
One thing about this podcast that I'm really, it was an added bonus I didn't think of, didn't even realize, but coming here every single week and talking about writing makes me realize, okay, well, that means I have to write every week for damn sure. Like, absolutely positive, can't skip it, like, no. And I've been really bad about doing this thing where I've been doing important, urgent things that are always, like, putting out fires. I'm reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things in there is they talk about the 4 quadrants, and one of those is always putting out fires, and that's usually what I'm doing. So now I'm trying to focus more on the important, but not urgent, which is the things that everybody wants to make time to do, usually doesn't. So this podcast has really been helping me put a focus on my writing. So what I've done is today, or the last 2 days, so that would be Thursday and Friday, I spent time plotting. So I've got probably about half my scenes for book 2 in the Wanda Lucia world, which is my romance world.
Awesome.
And yeah, I was very happy about those. I got some really good stuff. Thursday, actually, I was writing a biography of a character who is going to be the main love focus in either book 3 or book 4, and book 3. And he's going to be the intro into that character and into that love story in book 2. It's a very small one. It's kind of like what Brock was in the first book.
Well, I loved Brock in the first book, so
yeah,
I want to see what you do with his similar character in the next one.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing him and Dom together. That they're good friends, and so I wrote his biography because I needed the extra plot points. I needed to know what their love story was. I needed to know who he was. And I think he's a really interesting character. So he was a lot of fun to write the biography for. A very, very weird guy. And so I got that done on Thursday. On Friday, I got the scenes done, and I got some of the plotting as far as the subplots and the main plots. So after that, I guess on Monday or Tuesday, I should be able to finish up the 4-page outline, and then start doing my index cards for book 2.
Fantastic.
So, yay.
Yes.
Yeah, I took a little bit of time off.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's talk flash fiction. First of all, please, define what is flash fiction.
Okay, flash fiction is a very, very, very short story. It is, there are micro flashes that are 10 or 15 words. They go up to 1,000 words is the top limit for flash. My preferred length for flash is 500 words. And when I say 500 words, I don't mean approximately. I mean, I go to exactly 500 words, and if I have to, I cut back words, I use fewer words, I rework it to get it to 500 words. There are some reasons I go into this, but this is why. It's 10 to 1,000 words, with 500 words being a very good length if you want to do what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the OCD challenge there, because once you limit yourself to 500 words, and it's fun challenging yourself with writing. It's like, okay, 500 words, not 501.
Right.
You can add a certain amount of hyphenated words to get through some of this stuff. It's cheating, I guess you could call it. But yeah, it's 500 words, so you've got to lose one of those babies in there.
Yes. Now, the other thing with flash fiction is that flash fiction gets, a lot of people call a lot of things flash fiction that are neither flash nor fiction. Flash fiction is a real story. It is a story that has a beginning, a middle, an ending. It has a plot, a twist. It has characterization, and it has a setting. And you have to do all of that in 500 words, which is why flash fiction is such a good place to start your fiction writing.
I think when we talked about it before, you called it push-ups for the brain.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. And that is why I set a hard word limit and then try to get anything within like 25 words of that to exactly 500 words, but not one word over, is because it is push-ups for your brain. It requires you to go back through what you have written and clean up any loose, sloppy wording, find better words, find the exact word, find Mark Twain's lightning, not the lightning bug, and make sure that what you say is exactly what you want to say, and get your setting in, and get your characterization in, and get your plot and your twist, and get all of this stuff in. I am going to read a couple of flash fiction stories that I wrote at the end of this episode for you, so you can see what I mean when I say this is a real story.
Yeah, we're looking at flash fiction as being this kind of push up for your brain and everything, but like, okay, before I had ever done flash fiction, I wasn't interested in it. I had no interest in it whatsoever. So give us some good reasons to even write it in the first place, other than it's good exercise.
Right, okay. Well, first off, like I said, it is a real story that requires real plotting, characterization, all of that. So it is a superb place to learn technique, to learn how to plot, to learn how to create a character, and to do it in the most exquisitely difficult situation possible, where you have to make a person feel real and make the story real and the world real and all of it real in just 500 words, which people are going, oh, yeah, flash fiction. Flash fiction is amazing. It is an amazing teacher, and it is amazing fun to write and amazing fun to read if you are doing a real story with it. So, okay, so technique. Next is building products. And
products that you can sell.
Yes, products that you can sell. I have right now a story called, or a collection of 10 short stories, flash fiction, called Strange Arrivals. It's available for 99 cents on Amazon, and I think everywhere else right now. I think I've got it up everywhere, but I'm not entirely certain. And it is the first set of flash fiction that I did. I did for a class, and I don't remember which class now.
Yeah, but I can tell you right away that story, that Strange Arrivals, is actually what eventually convinced me to do it in the first place. That, and I was looking for something to, well, we can get into that later. But yeah, the Strange Arrivals, some of the stories in there are just amazing.
Thank you.
I love them. I mean, they're all good, but there's two in particular that are really awesome.
The reason that most people hate flash fiction is that they have read bad flash fiction. And the problem with flash fiction is that almost all of it is just god-awful. It's people who get started with an idea and don't know how to end it, so they just stop. Or they kill off the character at the end. So, so then the main character dies at the end. Or just all of these trite, painful, bad things that are not plotting and are not storytelling and are not worthy of somebody's time to read. So people who read it go, oh my God, that's flash fiction? No.
A lot of the flash fiction that I was exposed to when I was younger was fan fiction, flash fiction, which, it can be great if you're, it's some of the slice of life stuff. Most of it's boring, but sometimes they can get these really good poignant moments, but it would have been better in a real story. So you're thinking, okay, well, it's not the whole story. You're thinking, okay, well, it's a part of something, but the writer just didn't, they just ran out of steam or something? I mean, when you read flash fiction, most of it feels unfinished.
Right. And this is learning to tell a finished story in 500 words is an amazing feat and a useful life skill. Okay, so then the next thing is to grow a beginning readership. Once you have written 10 flash fiction stories, or 5 if you want to just give them away on your website, you can do so, or in a mailing list or whatever. You can say, okay, well, this is a sample of what I do. And people will go, oh, God. And then they'll read the first one and they'll go, oh, God.
Yeah, you can give them an idea into your world, too. Like, I mean, I could do Fulton Hills.
Yes.
And start showing people the flash fiction, the world of Fulton Hills or the weird things that are in there. And yeah, it's a great way to start introducing people to your work, especially if you're going to put your stories up there for free. 5 or 10 stories is what you would normally do in your course, in your free course, which we'll mention later.
Yeah.
But by the end of the 3 weeks, you have 5 to 10 stories already done.
Right, exactly. And I show you how to build multiple stories simultaneously, because that's really important to know how to do if you want to build an anthology. Which is a really fun thing to do. But, the next thing is you can test concepts where you have a number of different bigger story ideas. And you want to know if some people like this world or that world or the other world, and it lets you put together some very, very fast test concept pieces. I did one of the, I've gone blank on this now. Because I used a flash fiction concept for Longview.
That was it. Okay.
I just did this little,
I thought it was Settled Space.
Yeah, it was. It was for the Longview series, which are mostly 20 to 30,000 words long. I did like a little 500-word story, which was the first draft of Enter the Death Circus, which I then finished as like a 5,000-word short story, which is the 99-cent intro to the series. But first, I wanted to find out if this concept worked. So I wrote it out and I read it and I let it go cold, because you always let it go cold. And I came back to it a week later and I read it and I got a little teary-eyed. Yeah, I said, okay, that works. That works. Okay, we're going to do that. We're just going to do it bigger.
If you can make yourself emotional or make yourself laugh or make yourself fall in love with the characters, then you feel like you're doing something right.
Yes.
You are doing something right.
Yes, that's your proof. That is your
and
proof. And
especially in something so short.
Right. Okay, so, and then it is, we had, when we were talking about
we had a conversation about this, because this is my favorite thing about flash fiction. I know yours comes last, and that's cool.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about flash fiction is how much it changes your long-term fiction. So when I was... Okay, at the time, I was not interested in it, nothing at all. Didn't even read Strange Arrivals. I was like, it's just flash fiction. I can't stand flash fiction, And I'm like, okay, well, I can't have this out here, and it's my mom's, and I haven't read it. So I think that was actually one of the ones I bought from Amazon, because a lot of the time you just give me,
Yes.
your stuff. It's
Yeah,
perks
you get
of
the
being
daughter
a daughter
discount.
of a writer. Yeah. So I bought that one off of Amazon and I read it, and it was it was great. It was so enticing and it was so much fun. And I was like, okay, well, this is actually really cool stuff. So that was in the back burner of my brain. Probably a couple of months later, I was in that point where you get it as an artist too. You're kind of dull. You're kind of just dragging along, and your ideas, they're still somewhat exciting, but you want something really, just something new. You want to do something different. And I had the course that I hadn't even taken. I hadn't signed up for it. None of that. I have your other courses in the account. And I'm like, all right, flash fiction. It'll be quick. It'll be fun. You know, my stuff, the mom's stuff was really good. So yeah, then might as well give it a shot. And I downloaded it and I took the course and it was great. And I loved it. And I sold some stuff under the pen name. But the real thing was that the next time I moved into my long-term fiction, which I believe, I don't remember what it was. I think it was still short stories, romance short stories. I found myself using the principles I learned in the flash fiction course for my scenes, for my writing, for my dialogue, for the description, for everything. I found myself using that kind of economy of words, but also the importance, remembering the important things, not losing what matters in every scene. And the way that you have written some of the instructions is incredibly powerful. And sometimes we have a disconnect in, when we have discussions, and I had some disconnects with How to Think Sideways, mostly the dot and the line. Sometimes I don't learn from yourself and your teaching, so I will go to the forums and they can help me. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what it was about flash fiction. It struck me, and it was a very, very powerful, very fun lesson. And it also gives you this feeling of success when you write these stories and they're done. And then, like you said, you let them go cold and you come back to them and you're surprised because you don't normally write this way. Mm-hmm. And then when you reread them, you're like, damn, these are pretty good, because they're so different from what you would normally do. And then you tend to take that into your longer fiction. And it's not a bad thing. It's amazing. There is this freedom, you think, like we were talking about this on one of the other episodes. I went into your short story class to write the short stories, and they're 3,000 words. And I'm sitting there thinking, I did her flash fiction course. 3,000 words is nothing. I can handle that. And then I did the math, right? I'm thinking I have room to move. No, I did the math, and every scene for this comes out to 500 words. I was pissed. I was like, son of a bitch. It's like every scene is flash fiction. It's like I can't get away from it. But yeah, so that is my takeaway from the flash fiction course, is all this other thing that she's saying. Everything else is absolutely 100% true. It's a wonderful thing to write. But for me, my favorite thing is that it is the course that keeps on teaching, and it affects everything that you write.
Cool. Okay, that's what you said there. That it rang a kind of a bell with me. I have learned how to do just entirely weird sorts of things, all kinds of stuff. Hunting and fishing, how to shoot a gun, how to clean a gun, walking around on the tundra, how not to get eaten by a bear, how to speak Spanish, because I went to a school in Costa Rica and another in Guatemala.
And just to note, for people who don't already know this story, literally how not to get eaten by a bear. They were being hunted by a bear.
Yeah.
In Alaska.
In Alaska, yes. So I discovered that absolutely nothing you learn in your entire life is wasted. Sooner or later, every single thing you have ever done, every dumbass thing you have ever done, every brilliant thing you have ever done is going to make its way into your fiction. You'll change it and hide the identities, but by God, all of it goes in there. So
yeah, that's one of my favorite lessons that you ever taught me too, is when I was really down and having some bad times and, a job I didn't like and stuff like that. And looking at other things and asking you, am I losing myself? Am I never going to make it to where I want to be? Am I not going to write? Because I hadn't written in so long at that point. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no. And that's exactly what you said. You said, the fact that you were a maid, the fact that you are doing call center work, the fact that you want to go to the Tom Savini School of Makeup and Special Effects, which I did not end up doing, which I'm fine with at this point. But you're like, everything is going to work. So if you're still wanting to write, if you still want to do that, then this will all go into your writing.
Yeah.
And this will all serve your life's purpose, whatever that is that you want. And that has always stuck with me. That was just an amazing lesson.
You know where I saw the proof of that? In the bartender scene in Leaving Wanda Lucia. And you nailed it. You made it feel real.
Is that the one with the guy that she mentions that
she's talking about the customer? She's getting the glasses washed. She's running around. She's doing a lot of work. She's very busy. And I thought, she knows this shit. This is real. And it grabbed me. It was like, holy shit, that's a great scene.
That's awesome, because I've read scenes before with waitresses and stuff, and they're always serving a client or on high heels taking the food. I'm like, there's so much more to that shit. And like, good God.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So get to your favorite part of flash fiction.
Okay, you're going to laugh. But my very favorite part of flash fiction is that it teaches you how to fail fast. And yes, I said the writer F word, fail. It's really important to learn how to fail fast, because you've got to figure. It took me 7 years from the time I wrote my first novel until the time I had any proof whatsoever of success. Now, I was sending stuff out. I was writing short stories after that, and I also sent out, revised the novel, revised it, sent it out again, revised it, sent it out again. And I did this for 7 years before I sold I made my very first sales, which were 2 sonnets. Standard Elizabethan, perfectly metered sonnets, one about an android sex bot and one about a computer crash. And I sold those to a science fiction magazine. And,
love doing a podcast with your mother who's talking about writing a story about an android sex bot. That's the best.
It wasn't a story, it was a sonnet.
Yeah, a sonnet, true.
It was called To My Android Lover.
And we've already linked these in the show notes, but I will link them both again.
Yes, okay.
Just because they have been mentioned.
Right. So if I had been writing flash fiction, I would have been able to start learning the basics sooner, because you can revise flash fiction very quickly. If you're revising a full-length novel, that's a slow and painful process. And if there is nothing that teaches you how to revise, so that you have to invent the technique yourself, it can take you 7 years, which is what it took me. And then, my second novel, the Fire in the Mist, sold the first time out to the first place I sent it 1 month after I sent it out, which people hear me say that and they give me really dirty looks.
But they don't know how much effort you put into it. Most people don't put. And I got to say, even though it did take you 7 years and you went through that huge struggle, it's a benefit for all of us that have taken your courses or read your books or anything like that, because your struggle ended up paying you back in ways that you would have never seen. You would have never thought you would be teaching writing. And the fact that you learned how to tear these things apart, how to revise your novel, whether my book sells or not, it has been it was the most difficult thing that I ever put myself through. It was the best torture that I've ever paid for, or that you would ever pay for, because I got the daughter discount on that one too.
You got the daughter discount on that one too, yes.
Yeah. But I also work in your help desk department.
Yes, and so. I underpay you desperately because you get the mom cheapskate thing there, because damn.
Well, you make up for it with the courses. But I mean, you have to. What you're saying here, though, about failure is so important, because so many people don't understand this, and we have to take a second to really, really point this out. Failure is a good thing. Failure is so important, and it's an important part of growth. And I see this with my friends. I'm an admin for the art group that I joined in, and I started really doing better with my art. And I'm an admin in that group now. And my main goal for everybody is just to get people to try. And I've seen amazing progress from some of these other people. The thing is, people say, I can't draw a stick figure. Well, draw 20 stick figures. I can't draw a straight line. Well, most people can't. Right. It's not the straight line that matters. Draw a flower. Draw something else. And I have failed so many times over the years with my writing, with my art, with anything. The failing is the part that helps you make a difference. It's what you learn from in order to get better. And so many people don't realize that. They're so afraid of failure.
It is. Failure is a brilliant teacher. If you okay, so look at it this way. If you are afraid to fail, so you never pursue the work you desire, then your chance of whole life failure is 100%. You will absolutely, positively fail at the thing you want most out of your life because you never had the guts to try it. So, and everybody fails. Some of us fail spectacularly and in great, big, noisy public ways. But everybody fails, and you start failing from the time you try to lift your head for the first time when you are an infant, and you can't do it, and you cry, or the time that you get on a bicycle and you fall off and skin your knee, or even just learning to walk when you crawled. Oh, Joe,
yeah, I wanted to definitely get that in there.
Yes,
Joe with his little crawling and crawling backwards for many attempts.
My youngest child was trying to crawl forward and he kept going backwards. This was a very frustrating thing for him.
Especially with us laughing and thinking he was so cute, and and he was trying to go forward. No, he wasn't going forward.
Yes. So from the time you start breathing, every breath you take is a success, and every movement you make is a failure that will lead to eventual success. But if you didn't move, you would never succeed and you wouldn't survive. So moving, getting on this thing that you want and moving is the step that you have to take. And I want to say a little bit more about that too. Failure is an absolute, essential, inescapable part of success. And it is also your success's required first step. It's how you learn. You learn by skinning your knees. You learn by falling out of the tree, and boy, does that hurt. You learn by falling off the horse. You learn by falling off the vine. You will learn by falling off all of the stupid shit you did when you were a kid. And as a young adult, and as an adult, you learn, well, okay, sometimes it's, I'm not going to do that again, but sometimes it's just going to be, no, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to get better because, damn it, I want to fly. And this is where you grow your wings. You don't come with wings fully formed. Nobody does. You have to build them yourself. And you have to test them yourself, and you have to crash yourself. And then you get to fly. So this is, and fear is a survival instinct. It's a really important survival instinct from our ancestors. It's the reason we exist now is because our ancestors were legitimately afraid of freezing to death, of being eaten by great big animals, of just all of the war, of all of the massive, monstrous things that happened to people before there was fire, before there were good weapons, and all of the monstrous things that happen to people even today. There are legitimate reasons to be afraid, and fear will keep your ass alive. But it is highly unlikely that you will be eaten by a bad story you have written, so you don't need to be afraid of that.
Yeah, there's something that Will Smith, there's this great story, and I'm not going to tell it, but I will definitely put the links in the show notes. There's a link to it on YouTube. He's talking about the first time that he went to skydive. And he said he was out with his buddies drinking. They decided to do this thing, and then he was so scared. And he's hilarious. It's a great video. So I definitely want to have you guys watch that if you've got a few minutes. But at the end of it, he is there. He's on the edge of the plane, like the doorway and everything, and he's about to fall, and he's been scared this entire time since they made the decision. And then he jumps, and he said it was the most blissful thing he's ever done in his entire life. It was amazing. It was this glorious thing. And what he says that really moved me, and this is kind of a quote from him, but he says, and you can replace the word God with whatever you believe, but he says God puts the best things in life on the other side of fear. And I have, that's stuck with me because I believe that life does put some of the best things in life on the other side of fear.
For me, that's writing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's writing. It's putting yourself out there. It's having the courage to have other people read your work. When I sent my manuscript to you and Matt that night, I could not sleep. I was so riddled with anxiety and stress because I kept telling myself it's shit, it's garbage, it's the worst thing I've ever. Why did I do this? And I could not sleep. I must have gotten an hour's worth of sleep. I finally fell asleep, and then it was time to get up. But I had so much fear, and then I started getting your text back, and from you and Matt hearing that these things were good, because I guess I heard from you the next day, and then Matt had read it on Monday, but hearing from you guys that it was good, that it was really good, that it was captivating, that you were really enthralled with what I had written, that was one of those things that life had given me something that was on the other side of fear, and it was one of the best things hearing from you guys.
You did great. You really did. I loved what you did, and I just can't get over that was, your first serious novel, your first serious revision.
Fully revised, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But the point of that definitely was that some of the best things are, things that you're afraid of, or things that you're afraid to take a chance on. Like
and this is definitely one of them.
Or any of your writing when it comes to the flash fiction.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, and that fear of failure. This is a great way to get over that too.
It is really. And the other thing about failing and learning how to fail is you need to learn how to fail well. And there is a difference between failing and failing well. If you fail, you quit, you walk away, you say, I'm never going to do that again.
That's a true failure.
Yeah, that's true failure. Yeah, you have really failed there. If you learn how to fail fast and learn how to fail smart, then you are using every single failure that you have ever had in your entire life to teach you two things: how not to make that mistake again, and how to do the thing right. And if you are writing, like I said, if you are writing a 50,000 word novel, that's a slow fail. Because first it takes a long time to write it, and then it takes freaking forever to revise it. And then you don't, even after you've revised it, if you don't have a class that's teaching you how to do it right, you make mistakes. I had a waist-high stack of paper by the time I was finished this 50,000 word novel, which is half a ream of paper, basically. I kid you not, I'm 5'7", and the stack of paper reached to my waist. I had retyped, I had cut pages apart and taped them together with Scotch tape. I had written over things. I had handwritten pages. And then after I had finished this whole monstrous 7-year-long revision, I retyped the thing one final time and sent it out. And the place I sent it out offered to buy it for single one-time rates of $500. And I said, no, thank you. But at that point, I had a genuine, legitimate acceptance from a guy who published books for airports. And yes. And from that point, I said, okay, well, this is not the book. This is not the money. This is not the thing. This is not the dream. So now I'm going to write another book. And that was Fire in the Mist.
That was your long fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah. Now, that was a long damn fail with a big stack of paper. If you are doing flash fiction, you have tiny stacks of paper. It's like mice and elephants, man. And if you can go hunting mice, you don't want to go hunting elephants. Start with the mice. You're much less likely to get trampled.
So we've looked at everything. Is there anything before you read your flash fiction? Is there anything else?
Okay, one other thing. Yeah, one other thing. Don't embrace failure. There are people who will say, oh, yes, we'll learn to love the failure. No, don't do that. That's bad advice.
Well, if you love it, then there's no reason to get better.
Right, exactly. Oh, yes, I'm a failure, but I'm okay with that. No, don't be okay with that. If you want to do this, by God, do it. Damn it, do it right.
Yeah, keep that fire, keep that motivation in you to get better and better and better. Because if you start embracing failure, then you're just going to say it's like artists who don't want to grow, who don't want to push themselves into working and developing techniques and stuff. They say, oh, well, that's just my style.
Right.
This is just my style. And it's like, no, that you could get so much better, but they're afraid of all the time it takes.
Right. But the thing is, it only takes, if you only have 5 minutes at a time, then set a timer and write for 5 minutes. If you only have 10 minutes during a day and you can carve out 10 minutes, you know how many words I can do in 10 minutes? And this is after practice, but I can generally get about 200 to 250 words in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and that's on average.
Yeah, that's on average.
We've done faster
I've done
when we're
faster.
really in the flow.
Yeah, but I've also done
But
slower. So
Slower.
Yeah,
Yep,
sometimes.
I was going to say, but you're also done slower. Yeah.
But if you are consistently doing this,
Yep.
then that's all it takes. And believe me, I was a mom with 2 kids who were taking naps, and I was writing in 10-minute slots when they were asleep at the same time, which happened almost never, in between when I was working nursing jobs. And, I was tired and I was weary and I was doing all the housework and I was taking care of the cat and the dog.
Freckles.
And it was 2 kids, and it was just that I had to do this this was the thing that I promised myself was going to let me stay home with my kids. And it did, eventually. I mean, it took a long time, but it eventually did, and allowed me to be there when we really needed for me to be there. So, sometimes things go bad in a big bad way. But anyway, so you learn from every failure. And every failure you make that you learn from takes you one step closer to success. So do that. Okay, and do you have anything you wanted to add before I do the...
Yeah, there was one thing that you said before when we were talking about this, and I want to make sure that it's covered. You just sort of covered it right now. You had been working, nursing, and kind of daydreaming about becoming a writer and being in, this is going to be what,
someday,
keeps
man.
me at home. Yeah, someday.
Someday I am going to write books, and that's going to buy me out of nursing and allow me to be home with my kids someday. And one morning I woke up, and it was not an easy morning, and I thought, when am I going to, when is this writing of the books thing going to happen? And the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Not until you sit your ass in the chair and write the damn book. So
Yeah.
that was not too long before 19, oh boy, I'm going to blow this. It's 1984, 1985, somewhere around there. And it was January 1st. I remember that. And I said, I am going to write a book by the end of this year. And that was the only New Year's resolution I kept in my entire life.
But see, that I wanted to mention because that was so relatable when we were talking about earlier, because that really hit me because I had the same moment with my art.
Yeah.
I've been writing since I was a kid because of you. You my mom, so I've had writing with me all this time. But when you said that about you kept daydreaming and then one morning you woke up, and I had the same thing. I had daydreamed about wanting to be an artist and a writer both at the same time, and really get better. And I would go to bed at night thinking about this art career thing that I wanted to have, or this setting aside time for me to make art, even if it wasn't a career, having an art room and all this and that. And I had just woken up.
And this was your last year.
Yeah, this was 2016. This and everything from, I have, even in 2009 when I was a maid and working and everything, I was still renting books from the library and going through them and learning how to paint, learning how to do watercolors, but it was all just little things here and there. But 2016, I woke up probably December. It was 2016. Yeah, it was December. Sorry, keep saying January.
2015.
But no, 16.
16? Oh,
2016, because 2017 was the year
That's
that
right.
So 2016 in December, I finally woke up and I'm like, when am I going to have a better time? I don't have kids, even though that's not what I want, but I don't have kids. Tony is supporting me right now because I supported him for so many years. So he's supporting me in my writing career. When am I going to have a better time in all of my life? And if I look back on this time and I see what the time that I wasted, think about how horrible that's going to make you feel. You have to start taking action on these dreams now.
Yeah.
So 2017, that's what I did. Art every day.
And I will say, she was already a pretty good amateur artist. In 2017, her work, and you can see this online, she's got stuff up, her work went from good amateur to genuine pro, and she is actually selling her artwork now. And it's amazing. And you can see where she went from to where she went in 1 year, because she said, I'm going to do this. And then she did. And holy crap.
I've had some friends in the art group tell me that I should make, because I mentioned this to one or two of them, and they're like, yeah. And then a couple more mentioned it. They said that I should write like just a little bit of a book and show my art progress in 2017. I figured that would be kind of neat, just or at least just for me to have this snapshot, because I feel that some of what you say is also a mom's bias, but I know you say that it's not, and I will defer to you. But I know that if you put your mind to something and you use all the available time you have, no matter what that time is. I was drawing on the tri-rail in South Florida. I was writing on the tri-rail. Mm-hmm. Any chance I got in an over 80-hour work week, I was putting it towards my dream. So I know it's possible.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that people knew that you had that someday moment, that you had that someday daydream, and then you had that wake up moment, just like me, just like so many other people. It's important for people to know that somebody as ambitious as you and as prolific as you also had that someday mentality and then that wake up moment.
Oh yeah, that and the thing is, nobody gives you your dream, ever. The only way you get your dream is if you buy it with your time and your blood and sweat and tears. And there are tears involved, but it's worth it. It is worth every little bit of pain. It is worth every little bit of failure.
Yeah, you just have to know what you're willing to sacrifice for it. Sacrifice Facebook, sacrifice TV, sacrifice having a little bit of extra money if that's something that's what we're doing right now.
That's what we're doing right now too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys are tight, we're tight, and it's because we made certain things a priority over other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted people to know, because that's a lot of people have that someday mentality, and
right.
I wanted them to know how relatable your stuff was too. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
You should definitely read your flash fiction now.
Okay. So you should definitely give them a little warning before I read my flash fiction.
Yes. Okay. So, content warning. The story, specifically the first story, is really probably best for mature audiences only.
Yes.
Just
it's not that
bad.
I'm saying 16 and above, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, this story is titled Bob Zombie Rocks the World. I'm propped in a back booth in long lines, fingers curled around a bottle, face down on a table. I realize I'm not breathing. This is the worst realization of my life. Afterlife. Unlife. It started with Callista, my wife, and her agent, Stuart something, Little Whittle Wardle. In my head, he becomes the Wart. We met twice before. This time they came in between sets. Great news, she said as he grabbed drinks in the back booth. Movie contract for her, he said. Drink, drink, cheers. Great opportunity. Drink, drink, cheers. Convenient absence of prenup, Bob, loser musician husband. Hope you like those drinks, you bastard. They're gonna be your last, she said. I start to fade. You were never special, she says. You were just average. A long blank. Callista and the Wart are gone. I'm not breathing. I realize my new guitar, a Sapient 7 from different gravity luthiers, is on my lap. Ungodly expensive guitar, but the dude said it would make me a rock god. I would have given anything to be a rock god. Darkness drops. Dies into light. I'm still not breathing. Dawn creeps through the flaking painted black windows. Who closes with a dead guy in a bar booth? Wrong question. The right question is, why is the Sapient 7 nuzzling my left hand with its headstock? How has it wriggled its strings under my right hand? My left hand is now on the neck, flopped in a half-assed chord. Right hand is palm down on the silvered steel strings, and blam! Lightning jolts from left arm to right arm, up spine into brain, down spine into legs, and I am standing. No, the guitar is standing me, walking me to the mic. The strings are playing my fingers, music is coming out, while tentacles curling out of the solid mahogany body dig through my shirt into my belly, crawl up inside my chest, down my gut, spreading fire into me, grabbing my heart, my brain, my dick. Wow, this is a great guitar. The manager finds us in front of the mic. Warming up, Bob, he asks, and when we try to speak, nothing comes out. Still not breathing. Gonna be a bitch to sing with that. Ow. Ow. Air drags into our clogged lungs. Air pushes out. The sapient 7 works us like a bellows. Sound. Death gasp. Horrible rattle. But our fingers on our fretboard are racing. Midnight liquid brain fire, better than we've ever played, pours from our fingers and illuminates the air. The manager sags into a chair, mouth gaping. We warm up, sing us, play us, use us in ways Callista could never equal, and a crowd grows, people on cell phones calling friends with, dude, you gotta hear this guy, hurry, they held down here, standing room only. The aliens aren't coming. We're here. We are the soundtrack for the invasion. But we are a rock god, and this is the revolution.
I love that story.
Okay, and in that story you have complete characters, plot, conflict, setting, and the twist. The twist there being the guitar is genuinely sapient and alive. And this story is the first story in the second Strange Arrivals collection, which I'm still in the process of writing. So this is unpublished, and we're getting there. But what this is a collection of stories about a location in South Florida and about illegal aliens. And when I say illegal aliens, I mean little guys from outer space in a multitude of different species and one sapient house. And coming into this area in South Florida without benefit of government approval for reasons that the government would not like. So so that is the concept for the entire little 10-story plus connecting story book, I guess. And and this is what flash fiction can be. And now I'm going to read the second story, which is very different, but it's also a story about this same area, these same folks. And this is titled A Hunger for Life. A cat eyed the dumpster behind Mang Wow's indescribably delicious diner, yowled, and fled the alley. The crime tape had come down, the restaurant had reopened, with the 2 surviving owners cleared of all charges, and for both the employees and the customers of Mang Wow's, life had returned to some semblance of normal, with one tiny exception. A new sloppily painted sign hung on the dumpster's concrete enclosure. No bodies in dumpster, you assholes. That indicates bad spelling. Johnny Kruk didn't have a dumpster of his own, but he did have a temporary trash overflow issue. Johnny Kruk was the best field guy kids in crisis ever had. He befriended and rescued runaways, protected them from prostitution, drugs, gangs, and slave traffickers, and when home was safe, got them home to their parents. Johnny raised cash for the Kids in Crisis program by speaking to civic groups, corporations, churches, any place that invited him. He and his keynote presentations brought in millions over the years for KIK. The slideshows of what happened to kids who weren't rescued, a lot of them from police files, Johnny worked closely with the police, opened wallets like magic. The thing that really got donors excited was KIK's success. Most runaway programs had enormous failure rates because kids ran away from their programs just like they'd run away from home. Not KIK. Its success rate was an astronomical 92%. The KIK Foundation had pictures of Johnny all over its walls, shaking hands with the big guys and big gals of city organizations, all of them handing him very large checks. The next week, Johnny was going to get to meet the President of the United States because of his success. Johnny couldn't wait. No one knew how hard Johnny worked to keep KIK's average high. The sacrifices he'd made in his personal life, in free time, in everything. He'd known those sacrifices would pay off. He cut the lights on his old El Camino, walked to the back, and swung up the hinged tonneau cover. 3 large leaf bags, all sealed shut with duct tape, revealed the outlines of skinny male bodies. You will not ruin my 92% either, Johnny muttered. He'd already submitted the paperwork saying those boys were rehomed. He ignored the sign, tossed the first body into the dumpster, and the dumpster spat it back out, whipped a steely arm around Johnny's waist and arms, lifted him into the air, and popped him into its lid mouth. Screaming and crunching ensued. The alien was learning. Do not bite the hand that feeds you. He'd had to move after that mistake. Do not spit garbage on the street. Just hold it until pickup. Spitting a dead human out is acceptable. Eating the bringer of dead humans has no repercussions. Police said the murdered owner's unfaithful wife and her tasty lover had left the country. They had. From his current meal, he learned dumpster is spelled with a P. His next sign would be better. And that's the end of that story.
Now that one I love a lot. I really like Bob Zombie, but that one I freaking love. I actually feel like that dumpster is probably really cute.
That story originated because I built a world for how to build for the world building clinic, the Build Your World Clinic. My mind has gone blank on the title of the course. I built this world as a demo for the students who take the class, and there are a bunch of videos in there showing the world and the downloadable map of the world itself in Minecraft format. And as I was building it, I was putting names and signs on all of these places because that's what makes things click for me. And I hid the diner and I named it Mang Wow's Indescribably Delicious Diner, assuming that the aliens from whatever planet they had come from were not terrifically great at English yet, and, had come up with that sign. And then I had misspelled the sign on the dumpster in the back. And then little voice in the back of my brain, the right brain, said, yeah, but what if the dumpster was the one who wrote the sign? And from that came the story.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. Well, I guess there's really no wrapping up when it comes to flash fiction, but I do want to go over this real quick before you leave us for the day. The flash fiction course that Holly offers shows you the best way to write flash fiction to get everything in.
Yeah, it is. It's structured. It's 3 weeks. Each week you handle a different part of the story. And best thing for everyone is it is absolutely, utterly no strings attached, free. You don't have to give a credit card. You're never on the hook for anything. You get access to the class, the downloads, the printable worksheets, the forum. Yeah, the forum is where folks are posting their stories and getting feedback from other folks who are also taking the class who are posting their stories. It's a pretty good forum.
My favorite part is when you're done with the course at the end of 3 weeks, you have 5 to 10 finished stories.
Right, because I am showing you how to put all of these things together simultaneously so that you're building multiple stories that fit within the same context and that can be used for a 10-story anthology if you are so inclined.
Yeah, I have 3 or 4 under the pen name that I have. I think I have 1 or 2 under my other pen name or something like that. And it's also important to note, too, that this is a great way to test Holly's classes. If you were interested in any of the courses or anything like that, this is a great way to test for free her teaching style.
Yeah, I am very careful in letting folks know that not everybody can work with the way that I teach. I am very back and forth between the brains. I am very conceptual, and it's very important for you to know before you spend any money on anything that I have created to take the free thing and make sure that how I teach works for you, that my brain and your brain mesh, because what I'm basically doing is emptying the contents of my brain into yours, and if we don't think the same way, I'm not going to be able to help you. So,
well, here's what I also like about your stuff, and you can say if you don't think the same way it does, but I think that even though you don't always think the same way as other people, you can still teach them and they can still learn from you, because we don't really think the same way a lot of the time.
No, this is
but
true.
I still learn from your courses. So, but it's a good way to test out your thinking and your teaching style, because it's not just that you're conceptual, it's also that you're very, very logical, and that everything is written down so clearly and concisely. And
well, that's true. I'm very hands-on.
Yes.
It's everything. I break everything down into steps and show you how to do the steps, generally with demos, so that you can see exactly what I mean. And then, there is that finished book that I did. I guess it was actually for this class, so that I could point people and say, okay,
Oh, yeah,
when you-
probably.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I do so many projects that stuff gets kind of tangled in the past, but
Yes.
but yeah, this is the class that teaches, because I used these techniques to build Strange Rivals, and I
Yeah,
used the worksheets to build Strange Rivals.
And if you have been writing for 30 years, if you've been writing for 5 minutes, if you haven't ever written anything, if it doesn't matter what your breadth of experience is, if you haven't done flash fiction before, or if you have, it doesn't matter. I would say give it a shot, try it out, because at the very, very least, in 3 weeks, you can have 5 to 10 finished stories or more if you want to do more, because some people do more.
Yeah.
And those stories, you'll definitely learn something. So I guess that's the actionable item, is take advantage of the free 3-week course and write some stories. And I'll go over our offer in a minute. We have an offer for everybody, but I know Holly has to leave. So is there anything else you want to say?
Right. Yeah, just sit down, give yourself, start with at 5 minutes if 5 minutes is all you have. But this week, write something. You can do this.
Okay. Well, before we wrap it up, I wanted to go over the offer that we have for you guys. This is pretty cool. This is something I came up with and talked to Mom about, and she was excited. We would love for you guys to submit a flash fiction story for our Halloween episode. Okay. So I'm going to go over the different parameters, and please know that these are absolute. So it has to be Halloween related. So it can be a romance, it can be horror, it can be sci-fi, whatever it is, but it has to be Halloween related. It has to be 500 words or less. This is an absolute. Now, 500 words does not include your title, so you can name the title some ridiculously long thing if you want, be funny or about it or whatever, but your actual story has to be 500. If it is 501, it will be deleted and we will move to the next person. Basically, it's a permanent audio rights, but this is non-exclusive. Because it is a podcast, it is something that will be up for as long as our podcast will be up. For as long as episodes can be downloaded anywhere, these stories will be available for people. However, this is not print. You can sell them. You can give them away free on your site. You retain all rights. All you are doing is giving us permanent audio rights that are non-exclusive, that this is just for our podcast. One of the three of us will read this out loud. So that's going to be either Holly, myself, or my brother Mark. We've already called him, we've already gone over it with him, and he is happy to do a couple. So there's no choosing, because I'm sure a lot of people would prefer Mark to read their story, because he does voices and he's very dramatic and stuff like that. But Holly and I will try our best to do your story justice. Nothing that's icky, like questionable. It's the basic kind of things that would go on many disclaimers. Just keep it kind of listener friendly. Don't delve into some really, really raunchy stuff, I guess we could say. If you have any questions about what is acceptable, if what you're writing is kind of bordering on you're not sure if we'll take it, you can always email me at show@alonewithinvisiblepeople.com and kind of give me the idea of what you think is questionable, and I'll run it by Holly and we'll let you know. So again, 500 words or less, absolutely non-negotiable, Halloween related. We will send you a contract to sign that is giving us the right to air your story, but again, we have non-exclusive rights. You can do whatever you want with this story. One of the three of us will read it, and just kind of, if you have any questions about what is acceptable, remember, just email us about it. But we would love to get you guys in on this. The deadline to send it in to me is October 1st. If you are listening to this after it, please don't send it. If you're listening to this in 2019 or something, don't send me a flash fiction story. We're not going to be able to do anything with it. Since we have a smaller audience, since we're brand new, this is something that we are doing to really show appreciation to our audience. You guys have been amazing. You guys have been so supportive. You guys have just been absolutely wonderful with your interaction and your sharing all of our the social shareables that I've been creating with Holly's quotes. And this is the way that we want to say thank you. So the other thing, when you send in your Halloween related flash fiction story, please include one link. You can include a blog if you want, your own personal blog. You can include your website if you have one. If you're really, really active on Tumblr or really active on Instagram or Twitter, you like to do fiction things on any of these social networks, please send those along. Send one of those along. One link, your best link, will go on with the story. So that has been our show on why write flash fiction. If you have any questions, please go to alonewithinvisiblepeople.com, and you can find the episode show notes and leave us a question. If it's a little bit more private, I guess, or personal, you can email me at rebecca@alonewithinvisiblepeople.com. And we can, kind of try to answer your question, or maybe it's something that's a suggestion for a show topic. If you do have any questions for things that maybe we haven't covered, or there's a show topic that you really, really want to get to, we do have the next 6 weeks planned out at the moment, but we are absolutely, we still have mini episodes that are possible, and we are absolutely always listening to our listeners as far as what you guys want. So please just comment on any of those, show notes, any of the blog posts up there. You can always email us again, Rebecca@alonewithinvisiblepeople.com. We also want to give you the socials. So we've got Instagram and Twitter are both the same. It's @AIARWIP. And that you can also use your search engine and find Alone with Invisible People or Alone in a Room with Invisible People. And you can go on Facebook and look up Alone in a Room with Invisible People. That is our Facebook page. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, and I'm trying to remember if we're anywhere else, but I'm not sure at the moment. Again, we just want to say thank you. We want to say thank you to Holly's patrons who will be receiving these episodes. We have this one and a mini episode coming up soon. You guys will be receiving the episodes early. It's just an extra little perk that we've included in there because we want to say thank you guys. Thank you guys for helping support Holly and writing her fiction. And I want to say thank you so much to all of our listeners. You guys are amazing. You guys are supportive. You guys are truly making this podcast a wonderful experience. Let me remind you as well that if you leave a review on iTunes, you can email me. Again, it's the same as Rebecca@alonewithinvisiblepeople.com. Email me. Let me know that you've left a review. We'll have to verify it. Once we verify it, we will email you 2 ebooks. One was written by me. It's Good Bones. And Holly's is Quick Studies, which is a story based in her settled space world. That one is probably about double my length. It's about 6,000 words, we think. So thank you so much. We hope that you guys have a great week and obviously make some time to write. And now, a word from our sponsor.
You want to write, you love words, you love fiction, but you don't know where to start or how to middle or where to finish. I do. I'm Holly Lisle, and I've been doing this professionally since 1991. And I know how I did what I did to go pro, and I'll be happy to show you what I've learned. Start with my free 3-week flash fiction class at hollyswritingclasses.com.